The night before our wedding, I found my fiancée cheating. She is now pleading for pardon. Hi, I'm Rick, a 27-year-old man. My 25-year-old ex-girlfriend, Maya, and I were really in love, or rather, I was deeply in love with her, and I never thought she would betray me and cheat on me the way she did. Maya had just graduated from college when we first met, and I was already employed by a rapidly expanding business. There was something about her that I couldn't explain, and for me, it was love at first sight. She and I met during the birthday celebration of my friend's sister. Maya was a college acquaintance of my friend's sister. She kept gazing at me, so she must have realized I was observing her during the party. After much introspection, I went up to her. I wasn't as overweight back then, rather. I merely had a visible weight that has been there since I was a little child and runs in my family. I wasn't anticipating anything different with Maya, because I've had a lot of females reject me and laugh in my face when I attempted to hit on them in the past. She was quite beautiful, and I thought she would ignore me or act as like I didn't exist, but she was different. She was courteous to me, and we have a wonderful conversation for the remainder of the evening. We hit so well that we exchanged contact information, and as soon as I got home, I called her since it was the first time I had felt so happy and confident in a long time. From that point on, our friendship developed as we began to see one another frequently and go on lunch dates. As time went on, I saw that Maya was unique among girls her age. She was smart, funny, and kind. That was obvious to me the first night we spoke. Maya's beauty wasn't the only thing that drew me in. Maya's humor and intelligence were what drew me in the most. I hadn't been able to go on several dates with many females, but Maya was kind enough to give me a chance. I've always been drawn to smart folks. Maya exemplified the lack of vision, ambitions, and future plans that I disliked about individuals. She was actively searching for work opportunities after graduating from college. Preparing for the lengthy interview process and other events, her commitment to her job was admirable. Other than a romance in high school, I never had a true connection. The females needed something more than the affection of a geeky boy, which I didn't have, not because I couldn't keep one. Therefore, it felt good for me to meet and date a girl like Maya. Months had passed since her graduation, and she was unsuccessful in her job search. She'd moved in with her buddy after leaving the college dorm, but she was struggling to make ends meet. Her parents didn't have enough money to help her after graduation. After graduation, they had made it obvious to her that she needed to take care of herself. Maya lived with a very awkward acquaintance who frequently had a guy around. Living in the property proved challenging for Maya because it was a one-bedroom apartment. Maya said that her mental health was suffering as a result of living with a friend. So I invited her to move in with me and take a break. The income was decent, even though I was only beginning my career. Without her help, I made enough money to support the two of us. I handled all of the rent, bill payment, and grocery shopping by myself in our large one-bedroom apartment. Because I liked her and didn't think it was a huge issue to spend a little more money on her, I never grumbled. Yes, blind love. We seldom ever had serious arguments during our relationship, and everything went nicely. Maya went food shopping, cleaned the house, did the washing and dishes, and took care of my bed requirements. I loved every second of our time together, even if she wasn't particularly good in bed. Maya informed me about her former college lover and his mistreatment of her before we started dating. I promised her that I was a gentleman, and I did just that. She felt secure with me since I had never had trouble managing my rage before, and I had never touched a lady or anybody. Unbelievably, I had never cheated before, and I had no intention of doing so with her. I also alternated between our home and the workplace because I had 60% remote work and 40% on-site, and we were able to spend enough time together as a result. To demonstrate my openness with her, I even came up with the rule that every time we went anywhere, we had to let each other know where we were going, who we were with, and what we were doing. I did this to demonstrate to her that I had nothing to conceal and that I meant business. We introduced each other to our parents as our relationship developed, and soon we knew each other's friends, mostly those who were close to us. Maya had a best friend, but I didn't. Andrea was her name, and she was often hanging around with Maya. She also made frequent visits to the residence, and we were almost related. In college, Andrea and Maya shared a room. In contrast to Maya, Andrea lived with her two working sisters and managed a retail business at a well-known establishment in our city. Andrea was able to secure a position at the same supermarket, but she turned down the offer since she preferred a corporate position. I suppose she grew rather accustomed to me taking care of her. Andrea would frequently make fun of her and call her pampered, even though I didn't say anything to her. She deserved to be relaxed and taken care of, because she worked several part-time jobs as a youngster and during her time in college. I was glad to offer her that respite on my end. Taking care of Maya wasn't difficult for me. Actually, I was happy that I could support and care for my girlfriend. We were celebrating my promotion at a posh restaurant one evening, when Maya remarked abruptly, "What do you think if we get married?" I stammered, I was captured. It wasn't entirely unexpected, but it was back for a while. Although I still had a lot of things to think about, I had been considering getting married to her. She grinned when I informed her that we would marry when the time was appropriate. Sincerely, I wanted Maya to launch her job before we advanced our relationship. Getting married and starting a family has always been my dream. I've always seen my life with Maya ever since she entered it. I was waiting for her to straighten out her profession before proposing to her, even though I had already purchased the ring. However, she managed to find the ring in my closet, so I had to pop the question before she could guess. Andrea, Maya's best friend, was more astonished than delighted when she initially told her the news. Her best friend's marriage to me was shocking, not in the sense that her best friend was getting married. Given that she would be Maya's maid of honor, I had anticipated greater excitement from her, but it did not materialize. "Are you serious?" was her reply. Then Andrea grabbed Maya's ring and threw her pocketbook on the ground. Then she attempted a grin as she gazed up at me. Believe me, I had spent a great deal of time with them, and I was able to distinguish between her false and real smiles. I assumed Andrea wasn't pleased for her buddy, but I didn't tell Maya. I used to notice that Andrea was always really kind to me. Maya once went into the kitchen to make some fast snacks while the three of us were hanging out in our flat. Andrea gave me an indication that Maya wasn't who I believed her to be. I feigned stupid, but I knew what she meant. I questioned her about her meaning. Andrea assured me that I would ultimately figure it out. She was intoxicated. Furthermore, I was unable to draw any conclusions because she did not send a direct message. We quickly got to work organizing our wedding. I didn't want a lavish wedding like Maya planned, where she could invite all of her friends, family, and enemies. First of all, because she would not be making any contributions to my budget, it was quite important. Second, I thought life continued after the wedding. We would need to get a larger apartment and take care of other things because I liked children and wanted us to have a child nearly right away. I objected even though Maya had every reason to have a lavish wedding. We both realized it was unrealistic, but she made a comment about having the ideal lavish wedding. Unexpectedly, a few months before to our wedding, Maya secured employment. I informed her that I was unable to pay for her bridesmaids' dresses and the brand of wedding gowns she required. She decided that rather than bothering me, it would be better to get employment and pay the majority of her costs. I was impressed by her smart choice and hoped she would continue to pursue her job once we were married. With her new employment, I also thought she would help with our wedding preparations. She didn't, but the photo did. She spent every penny she made on her dress, shoes, accessories, and all the things her bridesmaids need. As a result, I paid for the wedding site, the pool, the cakes, and pretty much everything else myself. I became aware that Andrea was texting me more frequently 2 weeks before to our wedding. In the morning, she contacted me to check on my sleep quality and to let me know if she and Andrea went shopping. It was actually a lengthy list of justifications for texting me. However, she always maintained her composure when we met or she visited our home to assist Maya with something, preventing Maya from figuring out that something was wrong between us. I had to tell Andrea to stop texting and contacting me at one point because it was getting out of control. I was worried that I might endanger my friendship with Maya. I didn't want to lose Maya's relationship or the planning for her wedding, so I was too scared to bring it up to her. I had a sneaking suspicion that Andrea was attempting to woo me or alter my mind about marrying her closest friend, since I knew how much she trusted and loved her. I realized why on the evening of Maya's bachelorette celebration. The day before our wedding, I was at the hotel's club area, where we were all staying. Andrea contacted me when I was out drinking with some friends and said she wanted to show me something. I first didn't want to go since I thought she was trying to woo me one final time. However, I picked one of my pals and walked upstairs when she mentioned Maya and a name I recognized. I arrived at the hotel room where the little gathering was being held. Andrea was waiting for me at the door. My heart almost dropped as I answered the door after she told me something I couldn't believe. My chest tightened as I grabbed the door's doorknob, and I heard faint groans coming from their chamber before I opened it. The thing that shocked me the most was seeing Maya on top of another man, who I assumed was the male dancer they had hired to perform for them. She sprang off him as soon as she spotted me and fumbled with the blankets to cover herself. I recognized him almost immediately since Andrea had told me he was her ex-boyfriend from college, and I was weeping without even realizing it. I left them without saying a word since it was too much to bear. I was embarrassed, as was my companion who had taken me upstairs. He made an effort to speak with me, or perhaps to reassure me, but I dismissed him and left. I heard Maya shouting at Andrea as I was moving down the hallway, "Why would you do this to me? You destroyed the lovely life I was leading." "I told you he deserved better," Andrea said. "Rick has treated you quite well. You wanted to have it both ways, but I encouraged you to dump that loser of a guy and be with Rick instead." I chose not to turn around. Maya had been playing me the entire time, and I couldn't believe it. I wanted I could manage the hurt I felt, but I couldn't. It was too hard to accept, even Andrea. I slammed the door in her face as she attempted to pursue me. I drank till I lost the ability to tell the difference between a real person and a shadow. When I woke up the next morning, Maya and a few other folks had left me a ton of missed calls. Maya was already dressed in her bridal gown when I walked out of the room. She seemed very depressed. She rushed to me as soon as she spotted me and inquired as to why I wasn't dressed for our wedding. I was incensed to hear that. I pushed her away and declared that I was canceling our wedding because I was furious. They were all in disbelief and were asking me why I had changed my mind. Nobody anticipated this to happen after all the money I had spent on the preparations, so even my parents were surprised to find me in that condition. However, I was too devastated to talk. I felt my spine tingle as I gazed at Maya. I returned to my room and secured it. I could hear my parents and a few of our friends asking Maya why I made the choice from inside the room. However, she didn't answer. She simply feigned to pass out, and before her body hit the ground, a few individuals grabbed her. I took a few things from the hotel room and left it after cleaning up from the night before. After sending an apologetic message on my friend's WhatsApp group conversation, I turned off my phone. I don't know how else to respond, so please don't blame me. 1 week has passed, and I still can't reconcile the realization that I was being played. That's right before the wedding. Wow, I apologize, Op. What a complete hit to your finances and ego. It's strange that Andrea knew but chose to remain silent before any of this ever occurred. How come she wouldn't tell you? Perhaps she secretly desired you for herself and wanted you to make your own decisions. Perhaps you wouldn't have believed her if she had told you. And perhaps that would have affected your perception of Andrea. First update, hello. Everyone, I appreciate your feedback. It has a lot of meaning for me. On my initial post, I asked why I hadn't checked my friend's sister's past before dating Maya, and some of you left comments. The problem was that I was foolish. I didn't feel compelled to act forcefully. But during the early dating stage, I recalled discreetly inquiring about Maya from my friend's sister. In response, she said that Maya was a friend of her friend, and that they were both in separate departments. It wasn't much assistance because they didn't stay in contact after graduation. Speaking of Maya, she was furious with me for putting her up at our wedding when I met her yesterday. You know, it's sort of amusing. She made me the antagonist of the tale while ignoring what she had done. She informed her parents that I had canceled the wedding because I wasn't in my right mind after drinking too much the night before. I believe she is seeing my silence as stupidity. I no longer wanted to interact with her. Furthermore, I couldn't see why she believed that we could both reappear as a thing. I was even more devastated when she revealed that she was still having an affair with her ex-boyfriend during our time together. Because I was constantly working and didn't give her the attention she needed, she did it. Right now, I'm completely perplexed. I never disregarded Maya's needs or ignored her. She was also the reason I always put in so much effort at work, so that I could support her and pay our obligations. The idea of her having an affair behind my back still aches me as I write this. She is currently requesting that we set up a new wedding date because she cannot stand the humiliation. She never loved or respected me as much as I loved her, based on the fact that she only ever apologized once for hurting me. I told her I couldn't marry her since it was more of a one-person thing. I simply can't. I changed my locks and evicted her from my residence in the interim. I went to see Andrea yesterday after seeing Maya to express my gratitude for saving my life. I found out that Maya had been receiving money from me to care for her lover through Andrea, and she always handed it to him when she asked for an absurd amount to purchase things. When we lived together, Maya went to the gym every evening, but I never brought it up. She simply had an obsession with staying in shape, and I didn't believe there was a problem with it. She claimed to be. I was with Andrea most of the time, but I just learned that she was actually seeing her college boyfriend every day. She merely requested Andrea to hide it for her, and the reason Andrea was so taken aback when Maya showed her the engagement ring was because she had only a few days before informed Andrea that she was truly in love with her college boyfriend and wanted to be married. I can now see why Andrea kept calling and messaging. She was trying to find a way to explain the situation to me, but I denied her the chance. Because I was so foolish that I got imprisoned so easily, there are moments when I think I deserve this. There won't be another wedding since I've made up my mind. In 2 days, I will see her again to dispose of her possessions. I'll provide another update shortly. That you would show up at the altar after seeing her on top of another man is a sign of a crazy idiot. Naturally, because she can't bear to appear like the villain herself, she painted you as the bad guy. She would be completely embarrassed if people found out that she had been unfaithful to you all along. Shame on Andrea, though, for allowing things to get that far. Update 2. Hi everyone, I apologize for the wait. 3 weeks ago, I had my second encounter with Maya, and something unexpected occurred. She looked me in the eye and asked, Do you think calling off our wedding will help you find a better woman after I informed her that we would never be together again, much less be married? An overweight person is not someone any lady in her right mind would want to be with. A man like you. If you marry a lady like me, you should count yourself fortunate. I had never received such an insult in my life. And the fact that it came from someone I used to love, or who used to love me hurts me a lot. I knew then what type of person she was. It's difficult to acknowledge, but I came to the conclusion that she had been taking advantage of me all along. Even though I'm overweight, I didn't want to be married to a woman who felt like she was helping me out. I was aware of how these marriages always ended. She tossed my engagement ring at me and left in a fit of rage, so we didn't chat much that day. I banned her on all of our shared social media accounts, including her phone number. But I went to see her parents and informed them how much of a liar their daughter was before I banned their calls. And when they learned the reality, they were devastated. A week or so after Maya left me in the cafe, I started getting a lot of calls from an odd number. I instantly recognized Maya's voice when I picked it up. She sounded more composed, courteous, and distinct. She asked me directly if we could meet since she had something important to tell me, but I requested that she call me to deliver it. She began to apologize before speaking. She urged me to move on from our past and forgive me for everything that had occurred between us. Can you guess what Maya wanted to tell me? I thought it was incredibly strange that she was pregnant. She continued, "I'm pregnant with your baby, Rick," without waiting for me to finish speaking, and I laughed out. She was already performing practical jokes when I reminded her it wasn't April Fool's Day yet. I then hung up the phone. She continued to call as I had anticipated, so I had to block the second number. As it happened, her lover had left her when he realized she was no longer able to care for him. She believed she could cheat on me because her attempt to tell him about the pregnancy didn't succeed. She has been attempting to phone me with odd numbers ever then, but I have consistently turned them down. She arrived at my residence without my invitation just 2 days ago. I was there with Andrea. She used her foul language to assault Andrea when she saw her, accusing Andrea of destroying the lives of her closest friend. She even claimed that Andrea and I had cheated on her and had an affair. I sought a restraining order against her yesterday after having to contact the police. Without a career and someone to assist her raise the child, I can only imagine how awful her life would be. There is nothing between Andrea and me, and I don't believe that we will ever be together. She occasionally stops over to see how I'm doing. I simply want my life mended right now, and I'm hoping that one day my shattered heart will mend. I suppose she got what she deserved, even though I still can't forgive her for what she did to me. I'm still working on getting better and moving on. Any guidance would be much valued. Regards. I apologize, for anything she said to you. She was only trying to feel better by insulting you. She is aware that she is ugly for what she did to you for such a long time,